Disney shares lower after announcing a jump in streaming subscribers. Our next guest says that for CEO Bob Chapek to make his mark, it might be time for him to do some buying. Let's bring in Rich Greenfield, partner at LightShed Partners. Before we get to what Chapek should be doing, why is the stock down after hours, Rich?
Look, I think Christine McCarthy, the CFO, certainly signaled a bit of a slowdown versus expectations. Still growing, she's still saying more subscribers to Disney Plus in the back half of the year, but she said essentially it won't be as strong as they had previously expected, really due to the first half outperformance. And so, I think a little bit of just investor skittishness of numbers in the back half are coming down a little bit for subscriber growth, sort of signal the geopolitical activity in Eastern Europe could put some pressure on subscriber growth. And look, I also think there's just the fundamental reality of the market is growing increasingly concerned about the R word, right? I mean, recession is everywhere, inflation is everywhere, and those fears are growing while Disney's theme parks are literally packed to the gills. I mean, Melissa, it is absurd. I don't know if you've been down there recently. It's insane how packed they are. But the flip side of that is we've seen a lot of sort of COVID beneficiaries start to pay the price over the last 6 or 9 months, whether we're talking Netflix or you're talking Roblox. I think the fear is sort of, does Disney pay the price for this next year? Like, is this the benefit right now? And what happens on the other end of this sort of surge? And do we boomerang back next year? And that's certainly a fear that's growing among investors.
So pull forward, basically, of travel in trips to Disneyland. Rich, I'm curious, why do you think Disney should make a purchase now? What do you think it should buy? Why is that the answer for Disney?
Well, Melissa, it wasn't too long ago that you had me on the show and we were talking about how Disney actually, or I should say Netflix's enterprise value actually surged ahead of Disney's. Now you're talking about, Disney's essentially 3 times larger in enterprise value. It just seems like this is a unique opportunity. And the companies are very complementary. Netflix has global scale in streaming beyond just family. Actually, the place they're probably weakest is in family content, kids content. That's not where they're strong, but that's exactly where Disney is strong. And so I would look at something like Hulu. Hulu's a sort of a US only asset. Disney Plus is actually going to be bigger than Hulu soon. It just doesn't seem to have that much strategic importance versus for your parent company, NBC, it would be a real asset to combine it with Peacock and to really have a very strong US presence. I think would make a lot of sense for Comcast and NBC. And for Disney, that would give them a stronger balance sheet and allow them to go out and do something like Netflix. Or if Netflix is too big for their, for essentially their stomach, you look at something like Roblox, and we've talked continuously. My partner, Brandon Ross, keeps talking about sort of how interactive entertainment, interactive experiences are the future of media. Disney could be leaning in and actually own one of the biggest platforms out there in Roblox. I mean, Roblox is a $12 billion enterprise company. Even if Disney paid 2 or 3x where it's trading, it would be pocket change for Disney in the scheme of things, especially if they sell Hulu. So I just keep thinking about Bob Iger. When he came in, he made his mark by buying Pixar. That was the transformative transaction that started the Iger era. Obviously, there was Marvel and Lucasfilms later, but that transformative transaction was doing something big and bold early on. We haven't seen that from Chapek. It seems like this market is creating that opportunity. And the question is does he take advantage of it? Because Disney looks a lot better positioned than most of these other media companies right now in order to basically use its balance sheet and to use its underlying diversification.
Hey, Rich, it's Karen. Thanks for coming on. I understand what you're saying about selling Hulu, but still, Disney had that, not near death, but that painful experience with debt for an acquisition before. So, and they can't or probably wouldn't want to use their currency, their stock right here to do an acquisition. It'd have to be probably north of $100 billion deal. So do you think there's a chance that Apple could come in to buy Netflix?
Look, anything is possible. I don't think that's the way Apple operates. Obviously, their largest acquisition, I believe, is still Beats for a few $1 billion. And so you're talking about, let's just say Netflix would sell for, 2x where the stock is trading today. Let's just, whatever you pick a number, Karen. I don't know what the number is, but that's just a massive transaction. And I think Apple is showing you brick by brick, they're building a streaming business. They're being very patient. We'll see whether they get Sunday Ticket, but they seem to be leaning into sports a little bit more heavily now. But I would say dollar for dollar, if you were to look across the entire streaming landscape, content quality, not most watched, not most viewed, but content quality, I'd say of all the streamers, dollar for dollar, Apple is actually hitting at the highest batting percentage. Like, it's just, they're really creating great content. I just think from that standpoint, going out and making a huge acquisition just doesn't feel like Apple. I mean, it doesn't feel like they need to. I mean, Apple's not suffering because they don't own Netflix.
Rich, we got to leave it there. Always great to get your analysis. Rich Greenfield.
Thanks for having me.
LightShed. Tim Seymour, would you be a happier Disney shareholder if Disney bought Roblox or Netflix?
It all depends what they're paying. I like the Roblox idea. In fact, we've talked about on this show where they should get into gaming as well, whether it was Electronic Arts or one of the entities that made more sense, and especially ones that are trading well off their all-time highs. I do believe that Roblox could be brand friendly. I do believe it could certainly connect them to a universe, of course, that we all talk about all the time. They don't need to be there now. And if I think about even some of the content that could come out of that, that is something that is ripe for exactly what Disney does well. So could they be opportunistic here? Yes, they could.